Hi everyone, this is a review video of a hike I just finished in Harriman State Park yesterday. The goal of this video is to hopefully provide some useful information to those who are thinking about camping in or backpacking in Harriman State Park too. But yeah, let's get started. So overview, this is the hike I did. Like I said, it's about a 25-mile hike. All trails kind of draw straight lines everywhere, so the actual hike is a little bit longer than the 23 miles that it says. And it is a fairly strenuous hike. There's just a lot of elevation, and the trail maintainers here, they like going straight up the mountain. They don't do switchbacks like they do on the West Coast. And so your knees are definitely going to feel it, which is both fun and sometimes not as fun. In terms of camping, there's shelters along the way, and Harriman has a policy that you're allowed to camp near the lean-tos. So there's free camping. It's first come, first serve, but they were quality. They had bear hangs already installed, and I'll be talking about those a little bit later. Overall impressions of the hike, it was a lot of fun. It's great that it's so close to New York. If I could pick anywhere in the US to hike, it would not be Harriman, as amazing as it is. The real beauty of this park is that it's just so convenient to get to, and you can get there from New York City. So if you ever want to escape the concrete jungle, I feel like this is the best park around. In terms of logistics, there's two ways to get there. You can either take the train from Hoboken or a bus from Port Authority. The trails themselves, they were, for the most part, great, very well maintained, lots of different biomes. It's kind of hard to capture in photos how steep some of the trails are. For some of it, you definitely want to put the hiking poles to the side and use your hands to kind of hold onto the rocks. In terms of viewpoints, the views aren't the greatest. Most of the views are of the next hill. There are a couple of spots you can actually see Manhattan, which is fun. Sadly, I couldn't see it on this trip yesterday. There was a wildfire in Canada that's blowing a lot of smoke over into the area, so it's kind of foggy or hazy. In terms of general considerations for going on this trip, I would highly recommend bringing a GPS. The trails, there's a lot of trails in the park, and they crisscross all over the place, and it is very easy to get lost or backtrack. On the trail section at the very end and at the start, it's very easy to get off the trail. I use All Trails. There's a lot of different apps you can use. I would just highly recommend having a offline version that you know how to use. Yeah, because at some point you need it, without a doubt. You can also bring a paper copy of the map. There's a very great hiking map on the website for Harriman. You can just print out that PDF. Highly recommend doing that too. Like I said, it's very easy to get lost in this park. And so, yeah, I would recommend a GPS, and then I'd also recommend a paper map. In terms of water, when I went, so I went June 6th to 7th, there were not any running streams. I can see where the streams are, but they're all dried out. I got all of my water from ponds. I just used a Sawyer squeeze for filtration. I think there was water every 4 or 5 miles, so it was never really a concern. And there was easy access. If you look at the map, anywhere you pass by a pond, there was access to that pond. So definitely no water. The water is very clean when you filter it too. There wasn't too much sediment or anything like that. There were fishies in the water, which is fun, but the water tasted fine, and I'm not sick and I haven't died yet. So just make sure you definitely need to filter it or boil it. But I'd probably filtering. There might be heavy metals or something, so I definitely would go with filtering. The shelters were surprisingly cool. Like I said, there were 6 of them. They are first come, first serve. 2 of the shelters had groups of people, and the rest of them were completely empty. The first shelter had a high school group, and so there were maybe 20 kids that were camping there, so plenty of camping spots. And then the shelter near the end had maybe 4 or 5 tents set up. I would guess most of them probably have room for 5 or so tents, but obviously the quality, or the camp spot quality, goes down drastically the more people are there. The shelters do have lots of rats, and there was a snake at one of them. So obviously keep that in mind. Don't leave any food out. And a more important reason not to leave food out is bears do frequent these shelters. They're little black bears. As far as I know, there hasn't really been an issue. I think there was an issue with the Boy Scout group last year maybe, where there was a non-shy bear. I think unfortunately the bear was euthanized. And so the park actually, they're taking active measures for any aggressive bears. But as far as I know, as long as you do proper bear storage, there's bear hangs at the campsites, or if you bring a bear vault, you should be fine. No guarantees, it's nature, but as far as I know, things are good. Just don't leave your food out and be responsible for everyone else. The trail can be a little bit gnarly at places. There's just a lot of jagged rocks. So definitely probably the biggest danger, I would guess, is tripping and falling. I hike solo, so I carry a little Garmin inReach, and just in case something happens, if I break my leg and I can't move. There is cell service in most of the park, but usually only at the top of the park. If you're like a little bit lower, it definitely cuts out. Where I camped, I didn't have any cell service, so keep that in mind. If there's two people, you probably don't need an inReach, but if you're hiking alone, I feel like it's nice to give that your loved ones comfort back home. For the rest of wildlife, like I mentioned, there are bears in the park. I saw a bear, it's probably 4 or 5 years ago. Since then, I haven't seen any bears. The bear I saw was not shy at all. It was definitely not a pleasant experience. The bear just kind of walked towards me, and I had to yell at it quite a bit before, decided it didn't care anymore and walked away. So I do think, unfortunately, people do feed bears. When I see bears like on the West Coast, like as soon as they see you, they run away. This bear was just not that shy, unfortunately. But since then, I haven't seen any bears, and I've talked to other hikers there. They see bears every once in a while. No one's had any issues with them. They're tiny little black bears. I read online that there might also be ticks here, so definitely as you're going to sleep or leaving the park, just make sure you check yourself for ticks. I didn't have any, but I'm sure they're there. And that's it. Thanks for watching. If anyone has any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments, and I'll try to respond. Like I said, it was a great hike. I'll probably do it again in a couple of weeks, and hope to see you on the trails. Cheers.